Ladies and gentlemen, just Sunstrider here. Welcome back to another Sunstrider presentation, if you will. And in my past five playthroughs, I was about to say 5 years, but no, I've only gotten about 700 hours of Xcom 2 so far. I'm not exactly on that 1,000-hour mark, but I'd say I'm pretty close. But anyway, welcome to another Sunstrider presentation, where, as you can read by the title screen here that I got, I have a bit of a mod idea, because in my past 5 playthroughs of Xcom 2, I have definitely kind of come up with a few kind of ideas for mods, but sadly, I am shit at modding. I mean, I can barely mess with INI files without screwing up the game. Because I remember before starting my Raiders World campaign, I tried to kind of mess with some of the INI files of the Raider factions, right? Make them a little bit stronger, make their squad sizes bigger, all that fun stuff. But it ended up just completely screwing them over, and it kind of broke them. So I had to unsub and resub to them, so sadly, I was unable to do that, and the most I've done to my INI files is pretty much make the rebellious mocks actually have a 100% chance to rebel. Because in the INI files of the rebellious mocks mod, it's actually only a 25% chance to actually have them on their own team. And for the sake of the Raiders World playthrough, I wanted to make it an instant chance. So there you go, but I mean, I have very little to no modding experience. I can't mod with the fucking life of me. So hopefully, maybe some modder out there sees me screaming into the void, because this is kind of just a showcase, just kind of like get my ideas out there. And also, maybe if a modder out there sees this, maybe they can get in contact with me and we can like work something out, right? It's always a thought, but right now this is just me showing off my idea. This is actually a new Raider faction idea that I've had in my mind ever since I started Raiders World, really. And the idea for this is I kind of want a Raider faction that stands out, that can actually hold their own in a fight, and kinda has a grudge against Advent, which one of the Raider faction's mods is actually old world pre-Unification Day Xcom veterans. Which they don't like Advent, obviously, but they don't trust the new Xcom, and they don't trust the new commander after the fall of Xcom HQ during Enemy Within. And they are biased against targeting Xcom, right? So if an active Advent pod is within the vicinity of both Xcom and the, I guess, of the evil Xcom, quote-unquote, then they will try to focus their efforts on the Advent forces and not Xcom. Right, does that make sense? That might not make sense. Hopefully that makes sense. And my Raider faction idea, the Fallen Army, kinda is the reverse of that, where the Fallen Army want to attack Advent. And I have a whole backstory and everything, and unit templates and all that fun stuff to kinda set the scene. But of course, before I go into anything, I have a backstory, right? Kinda how they all came to be. And part one of the backstory, it all starts on Unification Day. So, in the early stages of the aliens' control, the Elders have just started production of Advent, the military cover-up, to hide their true plans. After the Black Site and Force facilities were built, production of the alien-human hybrid army began. And I only say facilities because I can only imagine that, especially in the early days of Advent's uprising, there were more than one black site and more than one forge facility. And that's just me making assumptions. So it could only be one black site or one forge facility, but that would seem rather unproductive to develop an army that's set to be a whole world kind of peacekeeping force. And I know they had 20 years to build it up, but still, only having one black site and one forge kind of doesn't make much sense. So this is only under the assumption that there were more than one black site and more than one forge. Probably not more than one side gate, though, because the side gate is kind of like a really unique thing. So, not more than one side gate. But, however, as this was still very well a prototype project, not everything was picture perfect as it is now. 20 years of trial and error has left many scars on the aliens' development. So even though the aliens are like incredibly more advanced than the humans, they still aren't perfect, right? And considering that this was kind of the early days of genetic kind of splicing and combining human and alien DNA, because an enemy within, they were all just plain aliens, right? The sectoids were, about I don't know, knee height on a human. The mutons were giant sacks of meat. The berserkers were also smaller than they are in Xcom 2. And all that stuff, right? So this was a very new project to the aliens when it comes to actually using human genetic material, now that they actually have control over the world. And of course, small deformations were cycled back into the system. Some of the more pressing matters came after the after the psionic control chips. Most problems were dealt with on site by in-house security, but some issues led to mutations in the entire psionic network. This led to catastrophic consequences for the aliens. And it's kind of funny that I have this kind of backstory like a couple of weeks or a few weeks after the Tactical Legacy pack came out. Because we kind of have XCOM's side of their uprising, and now we kind of have like a made-up, non-canon backstory of how Advent rose up, which is from me. Alright, creation of the Feral Advent. These mutations cause many of the prototype troopers to become mentally unstable or to go insane, as most people would call it, as the mutation would overload the brain and nerves function, leading to violent outbursts. As time passed, observations showed that the affected troopers would become as violent as the lost, relying completely on their infected psionic chips to keep them alive, almost how a parasite takes control of its host. Further studies have revealed that even after disconnecting from the network, the chips would continue to function, likely using chemicals in the brain to keep itself alive. This also meant that they would be controlled outside of the network, but the Elders never got that far, as more mutations were left unchecked. The vast horde of these Feral Advents managed to overrun, break free, and flee from their forced facilities, where they would live out what little of their lives remained in uninhabited regions of Earth, soon forgotten by the aliens. Well, the aliens, with their seemingly infinite number of resources, just kind of started to kind of shake off these setbacks by the Feral Advent, who would go insane, lose their mind, attack the in-house security that the force facilities and all that had, and then they just get GTFO. And considering that the mutation relied on the chemicals in the brain, it would soon eat away, and there'd just be nothing left to use, and I guess they'd just die out in the wilderness. And this kept on going for a while, so a lot of these Feral Advent were running around, even though they were still slowly dying after, because just the chemicals and the brain itself would just, it would just die itself. Therefore, the affected psionic chips would just have nothing to, I guess, function off of. And then the psychopaths As the years went on, Advent continued to run into problems with development as the project advanced. Developers were kept down to a minimum, that they still happened. But the mutation found other ways. I forgot. Oh boy. Another major outburst twisted the infected Advent's brain, not to destroy it, but to mold it. These infected troopers turned psychopathic, filled with rage that made them less vulnerable to pain. In the early stages of this mutation, the infected troopers easily broke through the responders, jacked up on adrenaline created by the mutated psionic chips. Some of the troopers were lucky enough to keep their intelligence and stole weapons and other supplies to take with them as they fled, and like the skirmishers, these psychos are beyond reasoning. So pretty much as time went on, the mutation itself kind of advanced and evolved, and therefore the psionic chips don't really rely completely on the now pretty much brain-dead troopers that the feral Advent were. These guys were able to kind of maintain their intelligence and just be alive stay alive with their normal organ and bodily functions. But their minds were still twisted, and because of how twisted and just irreversible the effects are, they differ from the skirmishers because they are literally mentally damaged, while the skirmishers were just doing what they were told because they lived through the whole process, they were brainwashed and all that fun stuff. And then the rise of Ravenclaw, because what is a Raider faction without a leader? I guess most of the Raider factions are just wandering around doing their own thing. But like I said, I want this Raider faction to be something more. Anyway, more time went on, and the Elders were able to perfect the production line, but not after 15 years of dealing with both feral and psycho mutations would let the early Advent army overwhelmed. In the behind fake news which reports the psychopathic. I always forget how to talk during these very important presentations, very professional and all that. Anyway, the psychotic Advent who returning most of their intelligence formed hunting parties, hitting weaker Advent targets. Those unorganized, lackluster strikes continued, so one officer got lucky. When the mutation hit him, his mind was twisted, but his brain was able to combat most of the effects that would render any basic trooper a lost cause. Instead of his mind being overruled or having the mind eradicate the infection entirely, they merged into one soon. This officer came to the realization what this project was meant for, but was still too damaged to come to a logical conclusion. Instead, he ran like everybody else, but had a plan in store. After forming a small hunting party with others, psychopathic Advent, he talked to his brethren into hunkering down for a while, which would soon lead to the self-named Ravenclaw into building up his own army. There's no real kind of, inspiration behind the name Ravenclaw. I just thought of it off the top of my head and was like, hey, that sounds cool. This is how it's really gonna start. Right? So pretty much these psychopathic Advent under the guise of Ravenclaw, who was able to keep his mind and some of his free will, but was still traumatized and scarred by the experience that the mutation had on him. So in his fit of rage, he still fled, but after that his adrenaline kind of died down, and he started to think on it, and decided hunkering down to build up strength would be good for him and his other brethren. And because the other psychopathic Advent were pretty much insane, they were easily persuaded, right? They didn't really have much intelligence, and so they could be controlled by someone with enough wits to do it. And the psychos and the feral meet. Though it wasn't much, Ravenclaw and his fallen army set up a base camp from their stolen supplies, and soon they had their own network set up. From here, they would launch bigger, more controlled attacks on larger weapon targets. However, they were still restricted by poorly maintained equipment. Since they had no access to engineering and research equipment, they relied on what they could salvage, but working as a unit, they were able to survive and learn for years, long before Xcom resurfaced. So this is still pretty much within the first 15 years of the Earth surrendering and the aliens setting up. Then one night, the Fallen Army had a run-in with their Federal brethren on a covert action to raid a refueling Advent convoy, and Ravenclaw, being the most intelligent one, wanted to take a closer look, so using their ransack materials, built a trap for these Feral Advent, captured a few, and started performing experiments and tests to see how they tick. So, Ravenclaw is pretty much acting as the insane scientist, super villain mastermind behind this fallen uprising. And pretty much how they started in the early days is, restricted, poorly maintained equipment, no engineering and research. Well, they had some engineering, but research, so it's not like they could get plasma weapons of their own. Pretty much relied on ransack, stolen, and degrading Advent technology, and in the early days of their uprising, whenever something would stop working, they'd pretty much just throw it out and move on to the next bit of stolen technology. But of course, soon they made their own advances through, just trial and error. They eventually managed to get good, I guess you could say. And of course, finding the Feral Advent, they gained strength in numbers. After several failed autopsies, experiments, and other tests, the Fallen Army finally learned that the Feral psionic chips could still be controlled, a trait the Elders failed to discover because they just kind of, tossed all the Feral Advent in the bin and kind of went on their normal schedule. The best minds came together to develop mass-controlling devices that would bend the will of any fallen trooper caught in the area, in fact allowing high-ranking members of the Fallen Army to control their actions on a mass scale. It's kind of like the movie. So it's kind of like if a big horde of the Lost was mind-controlled at once, they could all just move at once and then just swarm something. That's exactly what they did, because using this newfound advantage, Ravenclaw could use the Feral Advent as cannon fodder to loosen up fortified Advent position, and was able to reach stronger Advent facilities and larger convoys, scoring more tech for his army. This way, they were able to better maintain the gear they had and further build their encampment. Still, it's not much, but now they are ready to make a difference. So pretty much this is how it all went down. Pretty much during their little experimentation, Ravenclaw and little kind of poor, pitiful excuse of a researching team he could come up with, kind of had a rare miracle breakthrough, able to develop a controlling device, pretty much just like a remote control for the Feral Advent, managed to corral them together and just kind of control them. And using this, Ravenclaw would set out a horde of Feral Advent, beat down the defenses of fortified Advent facilities, kind of, like an Avatar project facility, beat it to the ground. Then his actual troopers would move in, clean up the rest, steal the equipment, get the hell out of there. And because of this, they were able to raise larger convoys, resupplying stations, whatever the fuck you could think of. And they were able to maintain better. They were able to better maintain their equipment, gather even more equipment, and therefore they finally became their own independent power within the world. And the fall and rise, LOL, because, they fall in and they're rising again, so, yeah. Anyway, the stage of the timeline, Xcom has already begun to rebuild themselves. With the commander safely aboard the Avenger, they have started their anti-Advent operations. However, the Fallen Army is about to get all buddy-buddy with Xcom and the other factions. Although Advent isn't their main target, they are still insane and prefer to keep themselves hidden. Or keep themselves hidden. Only after a couple of months in excellent development do Ravenclaw's armies get discovered, and well, that's where the mod aspect of this begins. Alright, in-game sub-story. So, kind of like mocks? Kind of like how the mocks kind of do. I'm going to have a sit-rep, or not sit-rep, I'm going to have a covert op mini storyline based thing where the Fallen Army will first get introduced, have a main engagement, and then eventually get destroyed like the Mox Initiative. Alright, so sub-story plot, mission number 1, Operation Fallen Gods, because, that's the best thing, and not very original, I'm sorry. Trying to think of names for shit is actually kind of hard nowadays, because any cool name you could think of probably isn't original anymore, because somebody somewhere else probably have thought about it before. So, I mean, sorry, it's just how it works out. Anyway, I plan on having the following army have a sub-story plot, making them feel a part of the game and not just another enemy. This mission, or encounter if you will take place about 2 months after the game starts. From the spokesman himself, it will have the surgical strikes sit rep only allowing 3 soldiers. This will be explained later. Mission description: Commander, you won't believe this, but an admin facility has got hit by other admin. The spokesman himself is requesting we rendezvous with the resistance scout in the area and investigate the remains of the facility. Operation Fallen Gods, Order of Operations Part 1, Rendezvous with the Scout, and this is kind of how they get discovered beforehand. A resistance scout runs into a destroyed advent facility in which feral advents are present in the area. And of course the resistance scout calls it in to the spokesman, who relays it to Xcom. Anyway, a randomly named Resistance Ranger will be on site after the Scout Ranger drops. After the squad activated like a civilian, he or she will be under the commander's control, giving you an extra sword and shotgun for the mission. If possible, Xcom to join Xcom after the mission, given a free Sergeant Ranger as a bonus. Alright, so kind of like in the, what's that called? The additional mission types for the Chosen, in that retaliation mission. In that new retaliation mission that takes place in a lost city, there's a bunch of civilians and resistance personnel in an area, and you walk up to them in their little circle, and then they become available to control. That's kind of like the way I'm going with this resistance scout. Anyway, part 2, investigate the facility. After the scout is activated, the camera will pan to a destroyed admin facility where a new objective marker will appear on approach. Multiple 3-unit squads of feral advent troopers will be surrounding the facility with a small squad of 3, maybe 4 normal advent survivors inside the remaining structure. So like 90% of the facility will be destroyed, but then there's like maybe one little safe room that's still standing, or like 3, maybe 4 random advents, so maybe like an officer trooper and a stun lancer, or an officer shield bearer and a priest, or whatever, right? They'll all be there waiting, and of course, because the feral advent are going to be a part of the Fallen Army, which are going to be Raider faction, they will attack both Xcom and Advent, depending on how RNG decides to treat you that day. Feral Advent Autopsy. After completing the mission, you'll be asked to perform the Feral Advent Autopsy, further advancing the story and unlocking a new tool. This new tool will allow any Xcom soldier to hack into the psionic chip of a feral advent within 5 tile radius for 100 supplies. Another feral advent course. This device is a one-time buy, and the ability will have a 4-turn cooldown. So pretty much what I plan on having this little device. It's a utility item. Alright, but you buy it for 100 supplies, and it takes a feral advent corpse. The device is a one-time buy, meaning you can only have one like at all. Alright. The 4-turn cooldown for the ability is a guaranteed chance to hack. It's not affected by like a specialist hacking score, so you could literally throw it on a recruit that you want to rank up and have him permanently quote unquote mind control a feral advent for the rest of the mission. And you can do it every 4 turns if there's any fallen advent alive after that. And pretty much, well, I mean, more information on chosen units, or Fallen Army units will be in the next part, I believe. No, the last part, whatever. They're doing the autopsy. One of the resistance factions will offer support in tracking the Fallen Army's leader for covert operations. Covert op will require 2 soldiers at least squad A rank on the base time, with no engineer or bond pairs will take 7 days. This will unlock the next mission and whatever bonus reward gets assigned, if any. So like a random resistance faction, so it could either be skirmishers, the Templars, or the Reapers. One of them will be like, here's a covert op to find Ravenclaw or whatever the hell it's going to be called. Mission 2, Operation Ravenclaw. After finishing the covert op, a new faction-specific mission will appear. No special sit reps attached, however. So, like, no guaranteed sit reps connected, at least. The objective here is the faction that the op got assigned to have found a possible lead on the fallen army's leader and have been supply convoy gone dark. It will be up to Xcom to find anything useful. Mission description: Commander, the faction name, depending on which one. Have found a possible lead on this fallen army. The suspected leader is overwatching a raid on an advent supply convoy. Now's your chance to launch a strike force, possibly ending the renegades once and for all. Of course, it's not going to happen. It's just for, you know, immersion and lore-wise and all that stuff. Right? It's not. They're not actually going to be defeated after this mission. Gods no. Operation Ravenclaw Order of Operations. Part 1, investigate the destroyed convoy. The mission will be in a city center map near a gas station and advent security checkpoints. Advent bodies lining the road and most of the vehicles will be destroyed. Multiple squads of random fallen army will dot to the map, leading to Ravenclaw himself. Part 2, fighting Ravenclaw. The objective will change to fight ringleader Ravenclaw after he's activated, but he can't actually be killed after he reaches 33% of his HP. He will force trigger an evac ability similar to Mox operatives, and he will flee either by evacing normally or a stasis plus evac combo. He's not destined to die this day. Then the evac objective will change to kill all enemies. More info on fallen army troopers later on. That will make sense when we actually get there. Operation Ravenfall. Sometime in the late game, same month as when sectopods or gatekeepers appear, for the same resistance faction will have a new covert op called Hunt Down the Fallen. At this point, the player will have hopefully had enough time to get some missions featuring the Fallen Army, and at this point the Fallen themselves should be at elite rank. So they kind of have a similar advancement progress as Advent do. Again, will be explained later. This will be the final encounter with the Fallen Army. Ravenclaw will die, and the Raider faction will no longer be encountered. Operation Ravenfall, Order of Operations. Assault to the Fallen's encampment. The Fallen encampment will be similar to that of a resistance encampment on Retaliation Strike, minus all of the Xcom decor, of course. Xcom will spawn on the outskirts of the map, and will have to fight through many groups of Fallen to get to the other side, where Ravenclaw will be waiting. Part 2, kill ringleader Ravenclaw. Once Ravenclaw is activated, the objective will change. Ravenclaw, along with a bunch of his minions, will be at the opposite side of the map. After all enemies have been killed, the mission will end, kind of like a supply drive. Xcom will also find a handful of alloys and supplies as well. No Illyrium crystals, because, as kind of stated before, the Fallen Army never gets too far in their own development. Regardless of raiding stronger Advent targets, they never get to Illyrium because their engineering team and research team and just generally just the state of themselves, regardless, never gets to Illyrium, so that's why they never get like powered armor or laser weapons or plasma weapons, but they do still kind of level up as the force level increases. You know, they just don't get laser or plasma weapons because of lore, alright? Immersion. Anyway, Section 3, Missions and Sitreps. Fallen Assault and New Retaliation. Advent has attacked another resistance camp, but the Fallen Army were hot on their trail now. A high concentration of both Advent and Fallen are in the area, and it is advised to let them kill each other off as much as they can, but prevent either side from causing further damage. Civilians have already been extracted. Kill all enemies. So it's kind of just like, you know, a cage fight between the Fallen and the Advent. But if the player so chooses, they can just open up and just murder everything. Sometimes in my Raiders World playthrough, I kind of like to watch Advent and whoever the hell is on the mission as well kind of fight each other. Kind of like Mox versus Advent or whatever, right? But, of course, if the player decides they can just kill everything. And a Fallen Convoy Ambush, new supply raid, similar to Operation Ravenclaw. The Fallen ambushed Advent supply convoy or train. If Xcom can sneak in when they are too busy fighting each other, they could snake some extra supplies. All fallen and advent enemies are activated. Xcom remains concealed to kill all enemies. So what I have planned for that is, like, say Xcom starts on a rooftop, and on that rooftop they have eyes on both an advent and a fallen kind of pod. Right? So they see each other, they activate on each other, it all kicks off turn 1. Alright? Bit of action, you know? But Xcom does remain concealed. So again, if they want to, they can watch them kill each other off. Or just join in right away. It's just the main difference between these two. One is concealed and one is not concealed. So one, you do have to worry about them, and the second one, you can just scout around the map watching them kill each other. Could make for some interesting and funny moments. I hope, at least. Set reps, Fallen Horde. Similar to the Lost Horde, high amounts of feral advents are present in the area, with corresponding Fallen Beastmasters. To keep them in check, a random number of Beastmasters ranging from 2 to 4 will be present, each with 5 feral advent followers. And Ravenclaw Incursion. Ravenclaw himself is overseeing fallen operations in this area. He, along with 5 to 7 of his troopers, will be in their own separate squad. Unlike in Operation Ravenclaw, he cannot be killed when on missions featuring the sitrep. He'll have the same evac mechanic explained earlier. He can only be killed in Operation Ravenfall. Or sireps. Fallen Army Incursion. A single squad of 5 to 7 troopers will be present on the map without Ravenclaw, and Fallen Death Bots. Large amount of Fallen Army's prototype robotic units will be in the area, similar to the automated defenses Sitrep. This group will consist of 5 Fallen Army robotic units. More about Fallen Army troopers later. So you can have, like, Fallen Death Bots and automated defenses at the same time. The only difference is that the Fallen Army does not have Sectobots. Alright, let me just say that now. And Section 4, the Strategy Layer. Wait. Sireps, mission Sireps. I thought I had dark events. I guess that's next. Anyway. Dark events are next. Anti-Advent operations. They may be ambitious, but I also want the Fallen Army to take part in strategic layer of the game as well. These actions will be like Exalt from enemy within, but they will target Advent and on Xcom. I have 2 main ideas in mind. Number 1 is delay Dark Event. The Fallen Army will delay a random Dark Event on the list by 1 month. If it is a hidden event, it will be revealed for free. The Dark Event will then be removed from the planning list and reappear after the next supply drop, aka at the next month. And delay, tech level, or rare but still possible event. Fallen Army will delay Advent's current progression by 1 month. For example, if Gatekeepers are planned to appear next month and this event triggers, they won't show up until a month later. So pretty much delays the force level. This may be stretching it a bit, but it gives the Fallen more meaning and maybe a reason to keep them alive a little bit longer, right? And to any modders out there watching this, if this part right here, these anti-advent operations can't be done, like, you know, it's too much coding, too much bullshit to deal with, then it's not something I really want, right? Just having the Raider faction alone will be good enough. But this right here, this is, I will understand if this is a little bit too far, right? I can understand that not everything is possible. But they're having some crazy shit in the workshop recently, so my hopes are, there, but I'm not giving my hopes up, right? Anyway, Dark Events. Deathbot development. The Fallen Army are ready to test the prototype robotics on the field, guaranteeing at least 1 robotic unit on incursion missions. Feral Reinforcement. The Fallen decide to beef up the cannon fodder, granting Feral Advent Troopers bonus armor and HP. More Dark Events. Fallen Sealed Armor mimics the Advent equivalent. Fallen Troopers become immune to fire, poison, and frost effects. Experimental Steroids. Fallen Troopers are testing experimental chemicals to boost their performance, giving all Fallen Troopers a plus 20 boost to most stats, aim, defense, dodge, and will, and plus 5 HP. And, alas, Fallen Army units. I have a good chunk of them kind of in this list right now. If any modders have any ideas to change it or what have you, go ahead, or maybe additions, but please bear in mind that I'm trying to keep the Fallen Army kind of on par with Xcom, kind of, just so they don't get immediately squashed like, I don't know, the bandits would. Alright? But, you know, this is all just me blabbling, right? If it does become a mod, and like a pro expert modder has some discretions, then I guess why not, right? Anyway, Ringleader Ravenclaw, prior occupation, Advent Officer, specialization, Leader of the Fallen Army, stats, HP 35, Armor 3, Aim 80, Dodge 10, or Defense 10, Dodge 10, Will, immune to mental effects, so it doesn't matter. Loadout, overclocked Advent Make Rifle, 8 to 10 damage. That might be a little bit much, alright? Like these numbers are just me daydreaming, right? I can understand that some of these numbers and some of these stats are a bit crazy. Alright, please don't hate me too much. Skills call reinforcements. Calls the squad of 4 random Fallen Army units to drop in a stolen Advent transport. Fortune cooldown costs 1 action. Mark, plus 10 aim and 10 crit for all allies, does not cost an action, 2 turn cooldown, so it's kind of like a Mark 2.0. Right? Because I know the basic Mark abilities that like officers have, it does not do all of that. Evac, once HP has fallen below 33%, automatically call an evac, will fall into stasis if HP drops to 0 to evac after it wears off. Light 'em up, firing first does not end the turn. No advanced variants, obviously. Feral Advent Trooper, prior occupation Advent Trooper, specialization, cannon fodder. Stats, HP 5, Armor 0, Aim 75, Defense 10, Dodge 0, immune to mental effects, hacking the psionic chip with the device explained earlier is always guaranteed. And Mark II, Feral Armored Feral Trooper, this only happens when the Feral Reinforcement Set Rep or Dark Event is activated. Stats, HP 10, Armor 3, Aim 75, Defense 15, Dodge 0, and immune to mental effects, is always guaranteed. You can only slash at enemies like a size zombie slash to lost with corresponding damage values. Fallen Grunt, prior occupation Advent Trooper, specialization, Rifleman. Stats, HP 7, Armor 0, Aim 75, Defense 10, Dodge 0, Will 50, Loadout, Ransack, Make Rifle, 2 to 4 damage. Mark II, Advanced Grunt. Stats, HP 14, Armor 2, Aim 85, Defense 10, Dodge 0, Will 75, Loadout, Repurpose, Advent, Make Rifle, 5 to 7 damage. Mark III, Elite Grunt, stats, HP 20, Armor 2, Aim 85, Defense 10, Dodge 10, Will 100. Loadout, overclocked Advent Make Rifle, and only at Mark III gains the skills Light 'em Up, shooting the dispersers on end the turn. And then Fallen Headhunter, prior occupation, Stun Lancer, specialization, Single Target Assassination. Stats, HP 7, Armor 2, Aim 75, Defense 10, Dodge 10, Will 75. I forgot agility here, agility, and I guess speed, whatever it's called. Mobility, right, but I guess those stats can just be on par with their Advent counterparts, I guess. Loadout, Ransack Shotgun, 4 damage, Sword 2 to 3 damage. Advanced Headhunter stats, HP 14, Armor 2, Aim 75, Dodge, or Defense 10, Dodge 10, Will 75, Loadout, Restored Shotgun, 6 damage, Alloy Sword, 4 to 5 damage, but no special effects. Skill, Shadow Step, does not trigger Overwatch, be careful. Mark III, Elite Headhunter, stats, HP 20, Armor 3, Aim 80, Defense 10, Dodge 15, Will 100, Loadout, Overclock, Shotgun, 8 damage, Pulse Sword, 5 to 6 damage, 25% chance to stun for 1 action. Skills, Whirlwind, free movement after hitting a sword attack, and this adds on to Shadow Step. So any skills they've had in the previous version, they still have it in the next version, right? As one could possibly understand, but I want to make that clear just in case. Alright. Fallen Hellraiser. Former occupation, Purifier specialization, crowd control. Stats, HP 5, armor 3, aim 60, defense 10, dodge 0, will 60, loadout. Ransack Mega Rifle, 2 to 4 damage, flamethrower, heavy weapon. So instead of just a flamethrower like the Purifier Sab, it's now a heavy weapon. So they're just a little bit more deadly than normal Purifiers. Mark II, Advanced Hellraiser, stats, HP 10, armor 3, aim 75, defense 10, dodge 0, will 75, loadout, restored Mega Rifle, 5 to 7 damage, and flamethrower heavy weapon still, and the skills, it gains blast padding, because, I mean, if you're going to walk around with a flamethrower, you might want to have a little bit of protection. Mark III, Elite Hellraiser, stats, HP 50, armor 5, aim 75, defense 10, dodge 10, will 80, loadout, overclock main rifle, 8 to 10 damage, Hellfire projector heavy weapon, so it upgrades a little bit there. And skills, Rainmaker extra heavy weapon charge, so it has 2 Hellfire projector charges and blast padding. Fallen Beastmaster, Primer Occupation Officer, current occupation, Feral Controller. Stats, HP 5, armor 0, aim 75, defense 10, dodge 0, will 75, loadout, ransack shotgun, 4 damage, skills, if this stupid shit would go away. Go away. Thank you. Skills, summon Feral Advent, calls in a group of 5 Feral Advent to turn cooldown. Mark II, Advanced Beastmaster. Stats, aim 10, armor 0, aim 80, defense 10, dodge 0, will 75, loadout, restored shotgun, 6 damage. I apologize for any spelling mistakes and typing errors. I am well known for them. Just read my stories. 6 damage. Skills, mark. Allies get plus 10 aim. Allies get plus 10 aim. Cost 1 action, 2 turn cooldown, so that's just basic mark. Ravenclaw has a special form of mark. Mark III, Elite Beastmaster. Stats, HP 15, armor 2, aim 80, defense 10, dodge 0, will 75, loadout, overclock shotgun, 8 damage. Skills, Feral Horde spawns 10, Feral Advent instead of 5, same cooldown, as well as mark. Whoa! Alright. Fallen Mindbender. Former occupation, priest, specialization, psionic, crowd control. Stats, HP 7, armor 0, aim 65, defense 10, dodge 0, will 80, loadout. Ransack Made Rifle, hopefully you can remember from previous versions, or from previous units. Does like 2 to 4 damage, I think. I can't even fucking remember. Hopefully you guys can. Ransack Psyaps. Skills, Soulfire, 5 damage, stasis for 1 turn. Stats, HP 10, armor 0, aim 70, defense 10, dodge 0, will 90 because it's a psionic unit. Loadout, restored Mega Rifle, restored Amp, skills, Null Lance, 7 damage, Mind Control, 5 turns, Side Panic, 1 turn, instead of like Mind Spin, it's just flat Panic. Self-Fire now does 7 damage. Mark III, Elite Mindbender, stats, HP 15, armor 0, aim 75, defense 10, dodge 0, will 100, loadout, overclocked Mega Rifle, overclocked Amp, skills, drain life, 5 damage. It does 5 damage to the enemy, and then he gets healed up to 5 damage, depending on how much damage he took previously. Void Rift, 5 to 9 damage, 25% chance for panic, panic only, nothing else. Sustain, just for you, Dereva, love ya. And Soulfire and Nullans now do 9 damage. Fallen Shaman. Prior occupation, priest. Specialization, psionic healer. Stats, HP 9, armor 0, aim 65, defense 10, dodge 0, will 80. Loadout, ransack Mega Rifle, ransack Amp, skills, healing, 5 HP, and stasis for 1 turn. Mark II, advanced shaman. Stats, HP 16, armor 0, aim 70, defense 10, dodge 0, will 80. Loadout, restored Mega Rifle, restored Amp, skills, inspire, mind control, 5 turns, healing, now heals for 10 HP. Elite Shaman, skills, HP 25, armor 0, aim 75, dodge 0, will 100. Loadout, overclock, main rifle, overclock, amp, skills, side strike, sustain. Again, I love you, Dureba. Healing now heals for 15 HP, and at least sustain is only the Mark III variant. Aight? Chill, ya beans. Fallen Destroyer. Really had nothing else to name it. Pretty much might as well be a Destroyer Commando from the Psyops mod. Anyway, prior occupation, Shield Bearer, specialization, Demolition. Stats, HP 9, Armor 3, Aim 75, Defense 10, Dodge 0, Will 50, Loadout, Ransack Sword Gun, Ransack Grenade Launcher, 2 Frag Grenades, Skills, Blast Padding, because when you're carrying a shit ton of explosives, you might as well have some protection. Mark 2, Advanced Destroyer Skills, HP 18, Armor 3, Aim 80, Defense 10, Dodge 0, Will 75. Loadout, Restored Mag Rifle, Restored Grenade Launcher, 3 Frag Grenades instead of 2, and skills Bombard, Shoot, Further. I guess. That's Bombard. I think, if I remember correctly. Mark 3, Elite Destroyer, everybody now, HP 25, Armor 4, Aim 80, Defense 10, Dodge 0, Will 80. Loadout, Overclock Mag Rifle, Overclock Grenade Launcher, 3 Plasma Grenades, Skills, Salvo, and of course upgrade to Plasma Grenades, on top of Bombard and Blast Padding. Fallen Combat Medic, Prior Occupation Trooper, Specialization, Support, Stats, HP 8, Armor 2, Aim 75, Defense 10, Dodge 0, Will 50. Loadout, Ransack Mag Rifle, Medkit, 3 charges, 1 Smoke Grenade, Skills, Suppression, because why the fuck not? Mark 2, Advanced Combat Medics, Stats, HP 18, Armor 3, Aim 80, Defense 10, Dodge 0. Mix those two up for a second. Dodge 0, Will 60. Restored Mag Rifle, Medkit, 3 charges. 1 Smoke Grenade, Skills, Dense Smoke, and Cool Under Pressure. Mark 3 Elite Combat Medic, everybody roll the drum rolls. HP 25, Armor 4, Aim 85, Defense 10, Dodge 0, Will 70, Loadout, Overclock, Mag Rifle, Nano Make it 4 charges, 2 Smart Grenade, Skills, Ready for Anything, and Sentinel. Sentinel for 2 Overwatches instead of 1, and Ready for Anything for he shoots, he overwatches. Fallen Death Bot, I think this is the last one. I remember correctly. Salvage from Mech, Specialization, Tank, Stats, HP 10, Armor 3, Defense 15, Tech Score 50. Loadout, Ransack Mag Cannon, 5 to 7 damage, Skill Suppression, and Light 'em Up. Mark 2, Advanced Deathbot. Stats, Armor 20, holy fucking shit, that would be horrifying. HP 20, Armor 5, Defense 15, Tech Score 75, Loadout, Restored Mag Cannon, 8 to 10 damage, 2 Micro Missile Charges, Skills, Cool Under Pressure. For better Overwatch shots. Hey, any modders interested, comment below or at me on Twitter. So again, like I said, all of those units subject to change if it actually does become a mod. And thank you all for watching. I'm done blabbling on. I need to go to bed. I'll work tomorrow. So yeah. Also, anybody interested? The music I used in the background is the Hunter's combat music. So yeah, like I said, thank you all for watching. Any modders, please let me know. If you're interested, I'm out.